It had been a long week, one of those that seemed to drag on endlessly. The summer heat pressed down like a heavy blanket, and our air conditioning unit had decided to give up 2 days earlier. I had been meaning to call someone to fix it, but between work and home responsibilities, it slipped through the cracks. That Friday evening, I sat on the couch with a glass of cold iced tea, hoping the ceiling fan would be enough to help me relax. My son, Brandon, had just returned from football practice. He was tall for his age, 17, and had the kind of energy that made me tired just watching him. His shirt clung to his back, damp with sweat, and his forehead glistened. He dropped his gym bag at the door and flopped down in the recliner across from me. "Rough day?" I asked, giving him a smile. He nodded, rubbing the back of his neck. "Coach was tough today. Said we need to be sharper if we want to make it to regionals." "You'll get there. You've always been determined like your dad," I said, standing up to refill his water bottle. "You hungry?" "A little," he said, glancing over the kitchen. I walked over to the fridge and pulled out the leftover lasagna from the night before. As I was warming it up in the microwave, I felt his eyes still on me. Lately, Brandon had been more quiet than usual, often zoning out during conversations. I figured it was just teen stuff, stress, maybe even a crush. Still, I couldn't shake the sense that something else lingered beneath the surface. When I set the plate down in front of him, he gave me a half smile. "Thanks, Mom." "Of course," I said, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear and sitting back down. We watched TV for a while, the hum of the ceiling fan and the low volume on the screen creating a strangely soothing ambience. After he finished eating, Brandon stood and stretched, then headed upstairs. I figured he needed a shower and some alone time. About an hour later, I headed upstairs myself to grab some laundry. Our rooms were on opposite ends of the hallway, and as I passed by his door, it was slightly ajar. I could hear music playing quietly, some kind of instrumental almost haunting in its softness. I paused for a moment, unsure if I should knock or keep going. Something told me to check in. I knocked gently and pushed the door open a bit more. Brandon was sitting on his bed, knees pulled up to his chest, headphones still around his neck, his expression unreadable.
He looked up when he saw me.
"Everything okay?" I asked. He nodded slowly, but his eyes didn't match the movement.
"Yeah.
Just tired." I stepped in, placing the laundry basket on the floor. "You sure? You seem like you've got something on your mind." He hesitated. "I don't know. I guess I just feel off lately. Like I'm carrying too much in my head." I walked over and sat beside him, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Talk to me, Brandon. I'm your mom. Whatever it is, we can work through it." He looked away for a moment before sighing. "Sometimes it just feels like I have to be someone I'm not. Like everyone expects me to be this strong guy all the time, and I can't even figure out what I'm feeling most days." My heart broke a little hearing that. I wrapped my arm around his shoulders, pulling him into a soft embrace. "Son, take it easy," I whispered. "You don't have to carry the weight of the world. You're allowed to be vulnerable, to feel confused. That's what growing up is." He rested his head on my shoulder, and I felt the tension in him slowly start to melt. We stayed like that for a few moments, just existing in silence. The closeness reminded me of when he was a little boy, crawling into my lap after a nightmare. I missed those days sometimes, even as I admired the young man he was becoming. Later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation. Brandon had always been composed, level-headed, almost too mature for his age. But maybe I had misread that for contentment when really, he was just holding things inside. The next morning, I made a point to take the day off. I told Brandon we were going to do something together, just the two of us. He grumbled at first, but agreed. I took him hiking, something we used to do when he was younger. We packed water bottles, sandwiches, and hit one of the local trails just outside of town. The hike started off quiet, with only the sound of birds and our footsteps on gravel. Slowly, as the trail wound higher, Brandon started opening up again. He talked about school pressures, how some of his teammates were dealing with stuff too. One had lost his dad last year, another was quietly dealing with depression. "I don't even know how to help them, Mom," he said, stopping at a clearing. "I feel like I should, but I'm not even sure I've got my own stuff figured out. You're not alone in this, I told him. Even adults don't have everything figured out. But just by being there for your friends, by listening, by not judging, that's already more than most do. He nodded, looking out at the view below. You think I'm doing okay? I think you're doing amazing, I replied honestly. You're growing. You're learning. And you're not afraid to question things. That takes real strength.
That day seemed to change something in him.
He laughed more, cracked jokes like he used to. We stopped at a diner on the way home and had burgers and fries. I couldn't remember the last time we had a meal like that together, just the two of us, no distractions. Over the next few weeks, things shifted in our house. Brandon and I talked more. He started journaling, even shared a few entries with me. We started a little tradition, Sunday morning walks, just to talk and breathe and disconnect from everything else. I didn't realize how much I had missed those quiet, connected moments. One evening, I overheard him on the phone, talking to one of his friends. Hey man, if you ever need to talk, I'm here. No judgment, he said. I smiled to myself, proud beyond words. It's not easy for young men to be emotionally open in today's world. But Brandon was learning. Then came the day of his big game, the one they needed to win to qualify for regionals. I sat in the bleachers, heart pounding, as I watched him move across the field with focus and confidence. They won by a single touchdown. As the team celebrated, Brandon looked up toward the stands, his eyes finding mine. He raised a hand, and I waved back, our silent bond shining in that moment. That night, he came into my room while I was folding laundry. Thanks for everything, Mom, he said. You really helped me through stuff I didn't even know I was going through. I looked up, meeting his eyes. You did the hard part, Brandon. I'm just proud to be here, watching you grow. He leaned down and gave me a hug, tight, real, full of unspoken emotion. I held on to that moment, knowing these days would fly by all too quickly. Weeks turned into months. Brandon kept evolving, academically, emotionally, socially. He still had his down days, like anyone, but he no longer kept them buried. And I always made sure to be there, to listen without judgment, to whisper when needed. Take it easy, son. Even when life was hard, we had each other. And sometimes that was all we needed.